Vaknin and Richard Grannon had an interesting latest video. He's talking about what creates a narcissist or a borderline before the age of 6. 2 points he said about if you're neglected or you're seen as an extension of the parent, not as separate. They can't really see you unless you're separate.
Acknowledge that they are separate from you.
Now that's a hive mind. In Japan, I heard that it's not good to make eye contact with people, etc. It's not polite. And now we find that Schwab said in his book that the Asians already have this hive mind, but it's because they don't see themselves as separate from each other, so they don't stare at each other. You know what I mean? Like we do in the West.
18 months.
Now both are valid, but it depends on what kind of people you are. You don't have to be a hive and you don't have to be a not hive, but it all depends on your culture which supports it. Now, what I was going to say, he's talking about parental and parents.
With the mother, and then aggression, and then that.
And then what did he say?
Yes, the frustration creates aggression.
Oh crap, I forgot. But it had to do with the fact that we can't pretend to be Asians in a hive mind by neglecting each other. And then we have everything in the television that is trying to kind of cross that boundary of ever even becoming friends first, but they're staring at you as though they're your friends. They're not. Anyway. But what did he say?
Separation and individuation is a process that's been described by Mahler, Melanie Klein, and many others.
Separation and individuation.
Even though in faculties around the world, if one had to stay in the room, she leaves the room. See the child.
Anyway,
I mean, you can't see
shoot, I hope that I just hurry up and get to this point here.
This is something people find difficult to understand. The very act of seeing someone allows them to separate.
The very act of seeing someone allows them to separate.
That means I recognize you as separate from me, as an external entity, external object. If I don't see you, if I treat you just as my extension or my internal object or my luggage, you know, then I will not allow you to separate. So this is intimately connected to separation and individuation, which we'll come to in a bit.
Okay, so if I don't afford, even as adults, I could interact with you in a way that is basically respectful, but in my interactions with you, it could be implicit that I don't really see you as separate to me.
Imagine everyone around here pretended that you don't exist, would look through you.
Okay.
After 3 minutes, you will begin to feel that you don't
Oh yeah, that's my point.
exist.
Yes.
He's saying you will begin to not exist, and then you'll feel invisible. If everyone was not looking at you, and you would eventually feel invisible. Now my point was that, remember that old saying, if a tree falls in the forest and no one is around to hear it, does it make a sound? And everybody says no, because it needs an observer. Well, I beg to differ, because there are millions of observers. There's spiders, there's moths, there's beavers, there are other things observing everything with ears and eyes, just like, but we can't see them. So, for instance, that observer test that Einstein did with that thing that went through the spots, and when it was observed, it behaved differently. Well, what if a spider on the wall was observing? It doesn't mean. Does it mean a human observer, or what? Because there are other things with eyes, you know, and ears and nostrils.